Good morning, everyone. It is December 30th, 2025. Trump proving once again he is Putin's bitch. This is the Mayday Network, and you are watching The Morning Show. Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginski. We have lots to talk about today. Julie, what's up?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, what's up is that you and I both were up till the wee hours of the morning talking about stuff for the show today. But I got to say, you guys, I know it's a slow week. I know that the new year is almost upon us. But while all of us were kind of, trying to relax, Trump got gaslit so badly by Vladimir Putin yesterday. I mean, it was so embarrassing and awful. Let me just set the stage, Michelle, for what happened.
Please do.
Okay. Putin's got a bunch of official residences. He doesn't really live in any of them because he's got this $1 billion bunker that he built that basically could withstand a nuclear strike and so on and so forth. But anyway,
does it have a ballroom? Just kidding. Anyway.
We'll get to that in a minute. That's what Trump is trying to emulate. I think Trump is trying to make a little bunker busting ballroom in the White House. But anyway, so he's got these residences. And one of these official residences, he claims, or I should say he claims, his minions claim was hit by Ukraine drone strikes, which now has led all of the people around Putin to say that Vladimir Zelensky, who was just at the White House, or I shouldn't say the White House, excuse me, Trump doesn't actually do diplomacy at the White House. He does diplomacy at his country club down in Florida. He was at Mar-a-Lago. Talking to Trump about trying to put forward a peace process that basically is giving the United States / Jared Kushner all the things that should make Putin happy. I mean, under normal circumstances. But of course, we understand this war is not about taking the Donbass. It's actually about taking all of Ukraine and then moving on to the rest of the Soviet republics and then ultimately to places like Poland and potentially even Finland. So with all that being said, of course, Putin decides that now is the perfect time to derail any good feelings that Trump might have had towards Zelensky. So he claimed that Zelensky ordered this drone strike against one of his houses, damaged one of his houses, and that's it. That's it. Zelensky's a dead man walking, according to Putin. The peace, any talk of peace is off. Ukraine's going to pay for trying to kill Putin, which is effing hilarious. None of this happened. And the part that drives me crazy about our mainstream media, Michelle, and this is the part where literally last night I couldn't sleep. You and I were talking about this, is that this is exactly out of the same playbook that Putin used when he first came to power. First came to power, there was a bombing of residential houses right outside Moscow. People died. Putin claims it was the Chechens, and it allowed him to launch a war of insane attrition against Chechnya and eventually bring Chechnya under control of Russia. Chechnya was always part of Russia, but it was a separatist republic. And the Chechens, he basically, the Chechens were his, I don't know how to, Venezuelans, like what Trump is trying to do right now to Venezuelans in this country. Although, so that's a bad analogy because obviously Chechens are Russians, but nevertheless.
Right.
So he leveled Grozny, which is the capital of Chechnya, and all of this was based on this predicate that the Chechens killed Russians with these residential bombings of these Russian these houses outside Moscow. What is important to note is that there is almost no doubt whatsoever among people who know that Putin did this himself, that the Chechens didn't bomb anything, that Putin ordered the bombing of these residential buildings to have a predicate to go after Chechnya. And so I want to be very clear that nothing new is under the sun. 25 years later, almost to the day, this is exactly what is happening. Except there's actually no evidence that anything actually happened to Putin's house. But nevertheless, our idiot president, who of course believes everything that comes out of Putin's mouth, and I mean everything, over his own intelligence services, over anything else, said, I don't know if you have this clip of him standing next to Bibi Netanyahu where they're dressed like twins.
Oh, yes.
What he
Let's
said.
see. I've got two things here. Let me play this one first.
Worried that the strike, the alleged strike on Putin's residence could scuttle peace.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not good. I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. It's no good. It's no good.
Russian officials.
Don't forget, you know, the Tomahawks. I stopped the Tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, you know, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
Do you not have
believe
US,
that?
but don't you have U.S. intelligence services?
What?
Don't you have U.S. intelligence services that monitor that region very closely? Is there any evidence?
Well,
that the
it came
US
out. It came out. Well, we'll find out. I mean, you're saying maybe the attack didn't take place. It's possible too, I guess. But President Putin told me this morning it did.
Look at
Unbelievable.
Netanyahu's face, because I will say this about Benjamin Netanyahu. For all of his other qualities, and he is probably
Yeah.
probably the best politician in the history of the world. I mean, this guy has survived more shit than anybody else on earth. But he's got an awful poker face. And if you look at his face, and of course he knows because the Israeli intelligence services also monitor things very closely. If you look at Netanyahu's face, he's like, it's like you're standing next to a child who you know is being an idiot and you're trying not to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, we recall that Trump has said repeatedly that he doesn't trust our own intelligence services. He also thinks that he and Putin went through the, quote, Russia, Russia, Russia hoax together, and that bonds them for life.
Oh, my God.
Despite the fact that, my friends, let me assure you, it was no hoax. I wrote a book-length Substack about it. So what we're having here is, again, Donald Trump believing Vladimir Putin. And look at how proud he is. I've not spoken to Putin. You know who I heard that from? Like President Putin. Like as though like
Yeah.
he's like a little boy who was thrilled that Putin picked up the phone and called him.
I have, well, speaking of the call, I have another clip here where the two best friends in the matching outfits are standing next to each other. And he's talking about that call.
Yep.
Yesterday, there was an explosion overnight, and the Russians say that Ukraine tried to hit the residence of President Putin. Do you have any information to corroborate
No, I
that?
don't know about it actually, and I don't. I just heard about it actually, but I don't know about it.
Did you speak with
That
Mr.
would be too bad. That would not be good.
What was the outcome of your telephone call with President Putin this
I had a very good talk this morning. I waited till this morning because it was pretty late by the time we finished, like 2:30 in Russia, 2:30 in the morning. And we had a very good talk. We spoke at 8 o'clock in the morning, our time. And it was a very productive talk. I mean, we have a few very thorny issues, as you can imagine. He knows about thorny issues probably better than anybody in the world, but it's working out. We have a couple of issues that we're going to get resolved, hopefully, and if we get them resolved, you're going to have peace. You're going to have Ukraine losing 26,000 soldiers a month. Can you believe it? A month, 26,000 young, beautiful soldiers, and plus some people in Kiev, and relatively small, but a lot, you know, still people, and it's a lot of people.
It's really hard to find words, Julie, because I am not as well versed in this subject matter as you are. But just as an average American who gives a shit about this stuff, a muggle, if you will, watching this is difficult, not only because he's an absolute moron, but not really having any understanding of it. I think in addition to it, like he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what's going on. You know, to your point, he's also being played by Vladimir Putin. He is Putin's bitch. He is Putin's little bitch and has been probably, you know, for the entirety, if not, you know, more of his presidency, at least the last 10 years, and a bitch of some faction of Russia probably for decades. The fact that then he starts talking about losing soldiers, like that's something that he cares about, and then looks at Bibi Netanyahu, like laughing about it, almost like making a joke, and then calling them, "Oh, the young, beautiful soldiers." Yeah.
Michelle, I want to be clear about something here, because I think what's lost in all of this is that Russia continues to murder civilians in Ukraine
And kidnap children.
and kidnap children. It bombed Kiev, the capital city, and it did it on Christmas. People are living in abject terror, quite differently from how people are living in Moscow and St. Petersburg, who are not living abject terror. The war is not coming home to them. It could, if Trump had delivered the Tomahawk missiles, which would have probably deterred maybe Russia from trying to murder civilians in Kiev, but Trump doesn't care about that.
Right.
And there was this awful story that I read about this elderly woman who was essentially homebound because she's not mobile anymore. And she had lived through World War II, and now she's approaching the end of her life. She lives in a, I don't know about a high rise, but a mid-rise building.
Yeah.
She hears drones flying. Yeah, she hears drones flying overhead every night. She can't get out. She can't get out. So she basically puts a pillow over, like a sheet over her head every night to try to drown out the sound of her, what she understands is probably her imminent murder.
Oh my God.
And she's basically saying, I don't know how I can, my nerves are shot. I don't know how I can live like this. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, that's what's forgotten in all of this. And you have Dmitry Medvedev, who for a little while there, if you guys remember, was the president of Russia because Putin was
right
constitutionally
right. So Putin was like, "Here, take my guy."
Yeah, take my guy. Okay. Putin was the prime minister. They did the old switcheroo. It's kind of like if Vance became president, and Trump basically ran the show as vice president,
right?
Which can't happen, but still. And what you've got essentially is Medvedev, who's been a horrible hawk in Ukraine and saying all the stuff out loud that Putin probably wishes he could say but can't, including nuking, the United States. Medvedev talked about a lot. Basically said, Medvedev said that Zelensky will never have another day of peace in his life. He'll be living in hiding the rest of his life, and eventually they'll display his body in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, they want to They want to display and drag his body through the streets.
Yeah, I mean, basically like a Roman tribute, right? Like what you used to do 2,000 years ago in Rome,
right? Which we apparently have not evolved from.
We have not evolved from that at all. And you've got the part that I think is very fascinating about this, and I'm actually going to write something on this, is that one of the people agitating against Zelensky and being incredibly explicit about how Zelensky's dead man walking is Kirill Dmitriev, who is Putin's bagman. But in addition to being Putin's bagman, he was sitting to Putin's left, I believe, at that meeting with Jared Kushner and Wickoff in the Kremlin. Ridiculous. He is the guy, and there's a picture of him, ironically enough, I was in Miami this weekend. There's a picture of him surfing in Miami this weekend or something. I don't know how you could surf in Miami, but nevertheless, he lives in Florida, I think. Or at least he spends a lot of time in Florida, having these quote unquote negotiations with Kushner and Wickoff over the demise of Ukraine. He's out there trashing Zelensky. So now you've got the guy who's allegedly supposed to be the diplomat here trying to end this war, effectively parroting these crazy bellicose talking points. And so the whole thing is a farce. Everybody understands it's a farce. The United States, in our name, is about to sell out Ukraine. As Don Bacon, who's a retiring congressman from Nebraska, who once in a while gets a spine, said that he doesn't understand why Trump is doing this, because he thinks he's being a Chamberlain, but in fact he's not. Or he thinks he's being a Churchill, but in fact he's being a Chamberlain.
He doesn't think he's being any of that. That's where I'm just like,
where are know who Chamberlain is? Like, stop.
Right? I was like, what are you people talking? You think he's trying to be something, or Chamberlain or anybody else? He doesn't care. Like, this is again where people don't get it. There is one thing and one person that Donald Trump cares about, and that is Donald Trump. Yep. That's it. And people are like, well, but no, this is a war. No, this is how awful he is. This is how soulless and psychopathic he is. He's a psychopath and a sociopath and a malignant narcissist. Like, there's a whole laundry list of things that are wrong with this guy. But like, for anyone to pretend that he's trying, like, oh, he's playing chess. No, he's not.
Not. He doesn't even
He's
know how
a
to.
moron.
You guys, he's not even playing chess. He doesn't even know how the pieces are supposed to line up on the board.
Yeah,
He
no.
doesn't even understand there's a game called chess. This
He's
guy's
a
a
bishop. Yeah, he doesn't know.
This guy's an idiot.
Yeah, checkers
He's
is hard for this guy.
Soulless narcissist.
Mhm.
And he is thrilled that the president of Russia is talking to him for one of two reasons. Either he is a Russian asset, wittingly or unwittingly, which I believe he is. I don't know whether it's witting or unwitting, but let me assure you, they have so much dirt on him that he probably is.
Yeah. And I just, as an aside, when we interviewed Jim Himes, congressman, on our podcast, in the moment, I wish that I had.
Oh, me too. Because he said he just said
He's like,
Trump.
no, I don't think so. And I'm like, and I really wish that I dug in on that. And I guess, I don't know, in the moment, I just didn't, but I should have, we should have, because I thought that was an insane thing to say.
Well, with that kind of certainty, because we don't
Right,
know.
that's what I mean. Like, I'm like, oh, you're so sure? Like, I don't think anybody knows.
I mean, listen,
what we do.
You have, well, the former head of the KGB, who
Right.
then became an American asset and lives in I believe in the DC suburbs now, somewhere in this country, said that yes, indeed, Trump was turned probably as early as 1987. So,
Right.
you know, I don't know. I don't know. All right, look, let's put that aside. Whether he is or he isn't actually is not relevant, whatever his motives are, because he's acting like he is, regardless and irrespective of whether they're giving him money or somehow blackmailing him, or he's just enamored. Because you have to understand, Trump's mentality, and I've said this for a long time, goes back to 1980, 1985.
Well, he's stuck there.
He's stuck there. His heyday was in the 80s when he was
Mhm.
out, you know, in his mind, sleeping. Maybe he wasn't
Yeah.
sleeping with mid-range models.
Yeah.
And on the front page of the New York Post and partying like a rock star. And,
Yep.
and people didn't know about his bankruptcies yet. And people didn't know about his craziness yet. And so back then, for those of us who grew up in the New York media market, Donald Trump was everywhere, right? He was everywhere. It was like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I mean, he posed as his own publicist and would call into Page 6 and be like, oh, like.
Yeah. And he loved that stuff. And so back then, of course, you had two superpowers, one of which was the United States and the other one of which was Russia or the Soviet Union. And to get a call from the premier of the Soviet Union was a big deal for private citizen Donald Trump. And since he's still stuck there, he still thinks it's a big deal to get a call from Vladimir Putin. He should not be taking calls from Vladimir Putin. You know why? Because Vladimir Putin is a genocidal war criminal. And he should not be trusting anything Putin says.
The thing that's funny about this, Julie, is that Donald Trump is not learning what Donald Trump's people are not learning about him, right? It's like Donald Trump's orbit, these people, right, who are around him and you know, flatter him and do all these. Well, he would never do that to me. You know, I'll never be a victim of his bad behavior. And that is how Donald Trump is with Vladimir Putin. I think he thinks that he'll never be a victim of his bad behavior. I think he knows probably what the Russians have on him. But I think that at the end of the day, it's like, he's not going to push me out of a window. You know, he's not going to push my people out of a window or do this. You know, it's like, I don't think that he actually believes that. I think he thinks that they're friends.
Listen,
am I wrong here?
No, I think he thinks that they're friends. I think he knows. Listen, if you believe that Trump is hiding something in the Epstein files, and because he's terrified of what's in there, let me assure you of two things. The man standing next to him yesterday, dressed just like him in order to psychologically
so weird
play intro. It's not weird. It's
no, I know, but it's weird that like this is what makes
and
all the Republicans
and Netanyahu gave him the quote unquote Israel Prize, which
we have clips of that.
Oh, let's show that.
Well, before we do that, just really quick, I want to just show this Because Adam Kinzinger, I do enjoy, because he's one of the ones that's, he gets it. He said, it appears the whole Putin quote, Ukraine tried to kill me with 91 drones last night was entirely made up. And of course, Trump repeated it and said he was mad at Ukraine. Nightly, Russia launched drones and missiles at innocent people and tried to kill Zelensky every day, and is still trying to do that. Spare me the gaslight. So Adam Kinzinger, once again, doing the thing and saying all the right things. He's very smart about this. There is also, and just before we move on to Israel, one quote here from your friend Jessica Tarlov over at Fox News. She made a really on point comparison that because when we were talking last night, Julie, I was saying, I wonder if we can get Joe Walsh back on the show, because I always think of him as like the Republican who was watching the Helsinki summit in real time and, was having this kind of come to Jesus moment. So she talks a little bit about the Helsinki moment.
Has every time shown a list of demands, pretended that they were different than the time before, and it's exactly the same. He has never changed the goalposts. He wants things that Zelensky cannot agree to. It would be turning over his country to Russia. And Rosanna points out that Trump didn't get riled up, and the weather, it looks spectacular. I wish that I was also in warm weather, but he wasn't riled up because Zelensky played this perfectly and has learned from the terrible Oval Office meeting with J.D. Vance when everyone freaked out on each other that he has to just sit there and grin and bear it. And I felt a little bit like I was watching a redux of the Helsinki press conference in 2018 when Trump came out and he said, I talked to Putin about the election interference and he told me he didn't do it, and I completely trust him. You've heard similar sentiments from Steve Witkoff, who's supposed to be getting us a great deal. Right? Putin's a really good guy. He's not going to do anything. The sentence that matters the most is that Trump had the audacity to say Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Zelensky, a comedian by trade, broke a little bit of a smile at that point, because you have never heard anything more ludicrous than the idea that Putin wants Zelensky to succeed.
And I have some of that, and I'd actually think that we should watch that. I think there's a side. Well, I was going to play all three, but let's just do this one. Zelensky and Trump are side by side at their podiums. And again, exactly what Jessica said. You just watch Zelensky's face during this exchange. It's crazy.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So in your conversation with President Putin, did you discuss what responsibility Russia will have for any kind of reconstruction of Ukraine post an agreement?
I did. They're going to be helping. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once, it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices.
For any of us who think we have patience, none of us come close to Vladimir Zelensky. And he did do a little interview with Fox after this. I just want to play some of this.
Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed.
There was a pan over to your reaction, and you kind of had your eyebrows went up and you smiled a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't agree with that?
No, it's not about agree. I don't trust Russians, and they don't want. I don't trust Putin, and he doesn't want success for Ukraine. Really, he doesn't want. He can say it. I believe that he can say such words to President Trump. I believe in it, that he can say it, but it's not truth, really. He doesn't want to have from President Trump more pressure with sanctions and etc. He can say that I want success for Ukraine and I'm ready to give them cheap electricity. Really, between us, we don't need cheap, this energy because we paid so great, this price, our lives. It's not about energy. We don't need anything from them. That's why I think its message is for President Trump, yes, to find a way how to communicate with him.
Yeah, the question was about helping with reconstruction after the war, and that Russia wants to help. And
they have to give us money.
Yeah,
they can give us money for this, and we will rebuild everything what we need to rebuild, and we will decide what to do.
So I want to just talk about this, because there are billions of dollars in Russian assets sitting in Western banks right now that should be going towards the rebuilding of Ukraine right now. They should take that money And that would have happened if not for Donald Trump. All of this is absurd. I mean, the fact that Trump, I don't even know if Trump is being gaslit by Putin or Trump just is like, screw this. I'm just gonna give Russia everything it wants. And
Yeah, like, why wouldn't I? It'll end the killing.
it'll
But it
end the
won't.
war, and
That's the
I'll add
thing.
another, notch to my 8 wars ended belt. All of this is absurd. I mean, absurd. And P.S. Speaking of wars that he did not end, there was a New York Times front page story yesterday by my good friend David Halfinger, who is used to be, now just went back to being the Jerusalem bureau chief again for the New York Times. And David is fantastic. And David wrote a wonderful story that I recommend people read, which is all about what kind of ceasefire is this when people in Gaza continue to die? There is no ceasefire. I mean, I could stand up right now and say I'm a 6 foot tall blonde and just say it over and over again.
Me too, by the way.
I assure you, I will be a 5'3" on a good day brunette, no matter how often I say it. And that is what is happening in Gaza right now. There is no ceasefire. Zero ceasefire.
Yeah.
And so the same thing is going to happen here. Trump is going to sell Ukraine out. The killing will continue. Zelensky is a dead man walking if that happens. But it's not really even about Zelensky and his personal safety, although the man deserves a statue in every block and every city in the world. It's about the fact that Ukraine, which has fought so relentlessly for its freedom and had an orange revolution that effectively kicked out the pro-Russia party and exiled them back to Russia, and tried so desperately to be a part of the West and move towards the West. Its cardinal sin is that it didn't want to be chained to Russia. It wanted freedom. It wanted transparency. It wanted to be part of the West.
Yeah.
And that is something that Putin could not afford to have happen, because, my friends, if Ukraine does this, and Ukrainians are Slavs, just like the Russians are, and the Russians certainly don't see much difference between themselves and Ukrainians, except for the fact that they're very kind of dismissive of the Ukrainians. If that could happen in Ukraine, in Putin's mind, what's next? That could happen in Moscow.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And if people don't know this, also, just about 100 Americans have died fighting with Ukrainians on the ground there. Most of them are veterans. And Donald Trump was asked about that as well. And I just want to play this clip.
You've said multiple times that you want to stop the killing, and nearly 100 American citizens died in Ukraine on the battlefield. What's your message to their families whose loved ones died fighting for you?
Well, look, I mean, the message is so obvious. It's what a shame. They died in a foreign country. And some are celebrated people. They're very celebrated. But so sad that a thing like that would happen.
So sad a thing like that would happen. If Donald Trump thinks that people going to war for their own country makes them a sucker or a loser, imagine what's going through his head when he's thinking about American veterans traveling to Ukraine to fight with the Ukrainians on the ground without the support of the United States government. He could care less. He doesn't give a shit about these people. In fact, he probably is glad they're dead because he thinks that they're idiots and on the wrong side. And like that, I mean, oh, it's a shame. Well, it's a shame. It's a shame. Is it? Is it a shame? Maybe they wouldn't have died had Donald Trump done more or done anything. But as we all know, that's not going to happen.
I mean, listen, what's absolutely ridiculous about this is that you have Donald Trump dismissing all of this. Well, you and I have spoken to people like Ken Harbaugh and others.
Denver Riggleman going over.
Yep. Who are literally running supplies to Ukraine because they feel so strongly about this.
And crossing over, and just so people know, like, you can't just like fly into crossing the border on foot.
And taking a 12-hour train. Like, it's not.
Yeah, it is at an incredible risk.
At incredible risk. And going to the front lines.
Yeah.
Because they feel so strongly. This is the most black and white war that we have seen since World War II.
Mhm.
There's no gray about it. Like, you know who the white knight is, and you know who the black knight is.
Yep. Exactly. And how the Republican Party, and to watch people like Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, you know, who were total hawks on Russia. I mean, they were of the right. I mean, what a joke.
I mean,
What a
listen,
joke.
I saw Lindsey Graham. I think I've said this before. I saw Lindsey Graham when we introduced, for my nonprofit, we introduced a piece of legislation that Lindsey Graham has been incredible on.
Mhm.
So this was about, I think this was 2023, maybe?
Mhm.
Sorry, 2024. I can't remember. Anyway, it was in the last 2 years. And we did a press conference on Capitol Hill with Lindsey Graham. And it was the day actually that Trump, I believe, got indicted in Florida. Anyway, the point is, it was a very kind of weird time for Trump and people who
Yeah.
support Lindsey Graham. And so, you know, before the press conference, we're kind of all milling around and we're all talking. And I see Lindsey Graham and I'm standing next to him and I feel like I should say something to Lindsey Graham other than thanking him for supporting this wonderful piece of legislation that he really has been very instrumental on.
Yeah.
So I say to him, Senator, I just want to thank you so much for what you've done for Ukraine and how great you've been on Ukraine. And he could not have gotten away from me fast enough. He knows. This is during the Biden administration, I should say. But he knows. So this was not when Trump got elected, but he knows that this is the war of good conscience.
Mhm.
And yet he knows that he can't be out front about it because even during the interregnum when Trump was heading out of Mar-a-Lago, he didn't want any of this to happen.
Right.
So if you're Trump, if you're Lindsey Graham, or you're, you know, Marco Rubio now, who went from being a huge Ukraine supporter to now being basically
just a barnacle on Trump's ass and does anything that Trump says. And we'll get to this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing in a minute, but she says, you know, in this New York Times article that came out that basically that Donald Trump has trained everybody to never apologize when you're wrong, to never admit that you're wrong, and to never back down. And so that's what they're all doing. And they're all, again, Republicans fall in line.
Yep.
As always. And this is what Lindsey Graham has sold every single, you know, moral or belief that he's had about this particular issue and others, but this in particular, as we talk about it, I don't know what matters to this man. And so as we talk about that, I just want to play the couple clips about, you know, because Bibi Netanyahu and his little costume. This was yesterday, right? So they had a little lunch first, and then they had a little talk. So here's Bibi Netanyahu telling Trump that he's going to give him a little award at lunch. What a surprise.
Doug, you're talking to President Trump. Could you tell him what I think you're going to tell him? What? Go ahead.
Yes, dear President Donald Trump, it's my great and distinct honor to inform you that the Israeli Prize Committee, following Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's recommendation, has reached a historic decision to award you the Israel Prize in the category Special Contribution to the Jewish People. This marks the first time since the establishment of the State of Israel that the Israel Prize is awarded to non-Israeli citizens. This category created to recognize individuals whose actions have left an exceptional and enduring impact on the Jewish people in Israel and throughout the world. The committee noted your significant and consistent efforts on behalf of the Jewish people and the State of Israel. Among your many contributions are your commitment to fight and actions against anti-Semitism, your dedicated efforts to advance the return of Israeli hostages safely to their families, your formal recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and the relocation of the United States Embassy, your recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and your unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself, including during a period in which Israel confronted 7.
All right, I'm going to go and I'm going to play the other clip here of them at the podium.
Say something? Well, okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. Could I just say something about this that really offends me to no end? If Bibi Netanyahu wants to take the state of Israel down a very dark path, that is up to the voters of Israel.
Yep.
To fix or not fix.
I was just thinking, I was like, I feel so bad for the people of Israel.
Okay, but I will say this. him saying that he's doing this on behalf of the Jewish people, of which I am one, is putting all of us in awful harm's way. I don't want to be associated with this. Please do not associate me with this. I did not vote for Bibi Netanyahu. I don't have a vote in Israel for Bibi Netanyahu. If he wants to say he's doing this on behalf of the Israeli people, fine. Do not say you're doing this on behalf of the Jewish people. I do not consent. And neither does the vast majority of the Jewish diaspora, either here in the United States or around the world. In fact, if you polled them, I would 1,000% guarantee that the vast majority of them do not consent to this being done in their name. He has done more to harm the Jewish people than any other president on earth. He has empowered people like Nick Fuentes. He's empowered that shit show that you saw at America Fest a couple weekends ago when they're defending Candace Owens. He has empowered all of these people to go after Jews. He has said that people who marched down the street in Charlottesville, Virginia, saying Jews will not replace us, that there were people both good people on both sides of that equation. He is a fucking anti-Semite, and he has done more to harm Jews in this country, I cannot speak for Jews outside of this country, than any other president in my lifetime. So no, Mr. Prime Minister, I do not consent to this being done in the name of the Jewish people. You want to do it in the name of Israel? God bless. I hope they vote the shit out of you when it's time for you to run for election next year. But not in my name. Not in my name. So sorry, Michelle, I had to say that.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, it's I don't even have words. I'm just going to show this next clip and maybe I can think of something.
Broken so many conventions to the surprise of people, and then they figure out, oh, well, maybe, he was right after all. So we decided to break a convention too, or create a new one, and that is to award the Israel Prize, which in almost our 80 years, we've never awarded it to a non-Israeli, and we're going to award it this year to President Trump. This was announced formally over lunch by our Minister of Education, who's responsible for the Israel Prize. It's going to be awarded to President Donald J. Trump for his tremendous contributions to Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's such a fitting thing, and it would honor us, obviously, Mr. President.
I actually can't listen to it, but just first the visual of the two of them standing next to each other in their stupid outfits. It's so dumb. It's so dumb and embarrassing. Like that we have a 79-year-old child running this country who likes it when other people dress like him. Like how absolutely moronic. Also, watching Donald Trump and his weird body movements that he always makes anyways, where he's just like doing this. But in particular here, he's being told that he's going to be given this award, a little award, the FIFA award, the Tim Cook award, the whatever else award. I mean, the whole thing is so dumb. And he's just like, doesn't even crack a smile. Not even a thank you. Like nothing.
It's Ben Stiller. It's that whole like, for people who don't read good, right?
Right.
That's what he's really getting. He's really getting the prize for kids that don't read good.
I want to be like, Bibi Netanyahu, do you know that Donald Trump used to keep Mein Kampf on his bedside?
Bibi Netanyahu doesn't give a shit. He's exploiting the shit out of Trump. Listen, Bibi Netanyahu is a master politician. He's a master politician. He has survived and gotten out of, you talk to people in Israel, all of whom hate him.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. How is this?
And well, because of the way their stupid system is structured, where you just you can get 20% of the vote and then build coalitions with other people to get to the majority in the parliament in the Knesset. So like this guy does not have the support of the Israeli people. He doesn't. But okay, this is the system you live under. He's been your prime minister for a long time. You reap what you sow. You got to live with the reality, right?
Right.
What I can't countenance is that this is being done in the name of the Jewish people. No, and no.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I do not consent. Let's move on to Marjorie Taylor Greene before I blow a gasket because this pissed me off so much. I've been pissed off about a lot of things, including what we're going to be talking about at the show.
Yeah. And we'll probably go a little late today because we didn't do a show yesterday, guys, and there's just too much to talk about. There shouldn't be too much to talk about because we're the week before or the week between Christmas and New Year's. This shouldn't be happening, but here we are. So there's a couple things. Number one, before we get into this, and I put this on the PDF that I put together last night, is if people don't know this, was it Tenet Media? Am I saying it
Yeah.
right? Tenet Media, if people don't remember the story, last year, there was a big bust up with the FBI. There was a company that was funneling money basically from Russia to these MAGA pundits, podcasters like Benny Johnson and Tim Pool. And the whole thing was busted up. And there was a woman that was associated with this, and she got kicked out of the country. Well, Donald Trump and the Trump administration made sure to work this out so that she could get back into the country. So she's back. She got a visa. She was granted a visa. So her name is Lauren Chen. It says she left the United States in July in disgrace. Her Tenet Media YouTube channel has positioned itself as a sort of MAGA supergroup, bringing together Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, exposed in 2024, illicitly taking money from pro-Putin propaganda outlet. And I'm not talking about like $10,000, $400,000 a month is what Tim Pool was taking in. $400,000 a month. So meanwhile, while this is going on with the Putin and all this, like this is happening in the background, the corruption is off the charts. But meanwhile, MAGA is starting to fracture in ways that I think are interesting and kind of like maybe good, but also really scary because of what comes next. And I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is leaning into the, I think the more detestable things about Donald Trump. She's at least publicly or pretending to also agree that they are just detestable, but also on the grounds of economic populism. So here is the New York Times Magazine. They did an article with her and her breakup with Trump. It says how the Georgia Congresswoman went from the president's loudest cheerleader to the loudest Republican critic. And it talks a little bit about things that she didn't like. Things that Donald Trump's saying, I hate my opponents. I don't want the best for them. She said, after Charlie died, I realized that I am part of this toxic culture. I really started looking at my faith. I wanted to be more like Christ, which I'm having a hard time with that.
All right. You know what? Like, let me just say this. She's a grifter. She's always been a grifter.
Mm-hmm.
She is pissed off because she did one thing in her life that was right, and that is the Epstein stuff.
Yep.
For that, she got exiled.
Mm-hmm.
She probably understood that her future in the House was limited anyway. Like, where's she going to go? She's not going to be speaker. She's not going to, So she's decided to create, she's seen the fractures in MAGA, and a lot of it is being led by MAGA women.
Yep.
She's
Funny
decided
enough
to do something else where she's going to be bigger in her mind than just what she can be while she's in the House. Like, why serve in Congress when you can go and become an influencer?
Well, exactly. And I just want to point out some other things here that she has kind of aligned herself with. She said she has increasingly taken stands apart from the president and the Republican Party, declaring the war in Gaza a genocide, objecting to cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence policies that, from her perspective, prioritize billionaire donors over working class Americans. What does that align with? All of these things pretty much align with progressive left. Yep. Criticizing the Trump administration for approving foreign student visas, for enacting tariffs that hurt businesses in her district and allowing Obamacare subsidies to expire. Again, economic populism. And then here's the Epstein files. She defied Trump and compliant House leaders, and she argued that the Epstein files should be released. And she said that they represented everything wrong with Washington. Rich, powerful elites doing horrible things and getting away with it, and the women are the victims. And to Julie's point, yeah, I mean, I remember we went live that day when she was on the Capitol steps with Tom Massey and Ro Khanna and the survivors. And it was actually, even if she didn't mean it, which I actually think she does, one of the things I actually do kind of believe about her, I think it was very meaningful for that base to hear it coming out of her mouth. And of course, Donald Trump after the fact was going crazy on Truth Social, calling her Marjorie Taylor Greene or Marjorie Taylor Brown because grass turns brown when it's rotten. I mean, like, so stupid. And so she says here, our side has been trained by Donald Trump to never apologize and to never admit when you are wrong.
Michelle, it's interesting that she says this because I wrote something that is going to come out tomorrow, which I worked on the plane yesterday, that I truly believe Democrats should learn from when it comes to MAGA. Like, really should learn from this when it comes to MAGA, because they know how to exercise power, to her point.
Oh,
right?
yeah. When they're in power, watch out.
You got to wonder why this all happened. And I can give you chapter and verse why I think it happened. It had to do with Obama. It's actually, I blame a lot of this on Barack Obama for not prosecuting any of the people
that's real.
in 2009, after the Great Recession crash. But, Democrats have to learn to play for keeps the way Republicans have. Right? And that means electing a Senate leader like Mitch McConnell, who never cared about preserving norms, but very much did care about stacking the courts with partisans to bless his agenda. It really also means electing a president who will no longer promise to go back to the halcyon days of bipartisanship, which I can assure you, having worked in the Senate during those days that they always go back to, never really existed. The only way it existed is those guys partied together on a bipartisan basis and slept with a lot of the same women on a bipartisan basis. I'm not joking. That's when people in the Senate talk about, like, oh, the good old days. Those were the good old days. They partied
like
together,
smoking and drinking and sleeping around. I mean,
around together,
truly.
right? But what Democrats need to do is they need to do what Republicans do, which Republicans have done before Trump. He's just a symptom. It means, honestly, granting statehood to Washington, D.C. and to Puerto Rico so Democrats can create a bulwark against Republican overreach, right? Both Obama and Biden had control of Congress at different points in their presidencies, but they never even thought about doing this. Why didn't they do this? Oh, because it wasn't done. Fuck that. Sorry, Dad. Right? So the diagnosis, I would say, is exactly what Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about, which is for Democrats to exercise power ruthlessly. It is literally, in my mind, the political equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb in Hiroshima or bombing Dresden into submission to end the horror of World War II, because that's what we're in right now. I mean, it's not nihilism, which is what Republicans are about, but they save the country from a nihilist future that currently stares us straight in the face. And that's the part, to me, that I think we all need to really consider.
Right.
That she's absolutely right. They don't apologize.
For nothing. Which is the Roy Cohn, right? It's the Roy Cohn, which is McCarthyism, right? Who was sitting there next to McCarthy during all of those hearings. It was Roy Cohn. And Roy Cohn, is part of the Roger Stone and the Paul Manafort coalition, right? And Roy Cohn is the one who taught Donald Trump how to be, at least professionally, how to be Donald Trump. And it was, if you leave a courtroom and you've lost your case, you walk out and you talk to the cameras and you say you won. And that is what Donald Trump does. And that is what he has taught the whole rest of them. And so, she goes on to say, for a lot of MAGA, Trump is a savior and he's like a god to them. But then she starts talking about the sexualization of the Mar-a-Lago women, which I thought was actually kind of funny. She said, I never liked the MAGA Mar-a-Lago sexualization. I believe how women in leadership present themselves sends a message to younger women. She continued, I have 2 daughters, and I've always been uncomfortable with how those women puff up their lips and enlarge their breasts. I've never spoken about it publicly, but I've been planning to. It's that interesting. But then she talks about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, as it was coming up in the 2024 campaign. And she was like, didn't think it was a big deal. She says here, it just was kind of a story, and, Trump is just one of several, and maybe it's not as big a deal as we think it is, or his involvement here. She said, and then we'd heard the general stories about how Epstein used to be a member of Mar-a-Lago, but Trump kicked him out. Why would I think he's done anything wrong? Right. And then she finds out, she said the decades that Epstein spent eluding justice for exploiting and sexually assaulting countless girls. We know all of this. But then she talks about the phone call.
Yeah.
He calls her. So when they go on the steps of the Capitol with Ro Khanna, this picture here, she's there with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey with the survivors, pressuring Congress to release the files. Donald Trump picks up the phone and calls her. And he says to her, this last line here goes, after the hearing, Green held a news conference at which she threatened to identify some of the men who had abused women. She said, I will read it on the floor of the House, essentially. Give me the list and I'll do it if they won't do it. Trump called Green to voice his displeasure. Green was in her Capitol Hill office, and according to a staff member, everyone in the suite of rooms could hear him yelling at her, and she listened to him on speakerphone. Green says she expressed her perplexity over his intransigence. That's a vocab word. According to Green, Trump replied, quote, my friends will get hurt. And before we talk about this for a second here, I just want to point out that People Magazine, Julie Roginski's People Magazine, jumped right on this. And yet again, are letting the people in the nail salons and the doctor's offices know about this, which is very, very important.
Always read People. You got to read People, my friends. It makes it to People. It's made it downstream to popular culture.
Exactly.
And I got to be honest, what we're dealing with here is a in plain sight pedophilia protection racket.
Yep.
She claims that she knows who these predators are because she claims the women told her.
Yeah.
And
I believe they told her. At least some of them.
She can go on the floor of the House and expose it right now.
She has protection doing that, right? Like legally, she can do that.
She has the speech and debate clause. That's why you had Nancy Mace going on the floor of the House and in her mind exposing some crazy sex ring that her ex-fiance was involved in. But it was because she knew they couldn't sue her for it.
Right.
So there you go.
Wild. But, you know, while it is, I guess, sort of refreshing, like at face value to see someone of the base breaking away from it, because I think we've all been kind of waiting for something like this to happen. But what is happening across the board here is self-serving. This is all self-serving. If you're seeing who Marjorie Taylor Greene is starting to align herself with, it is Tucker Carlson. She's come out and said just in the last week or two that she likes Tucker. Tucker, she thinks is a good person. Tucker's her friend. They agree on things like Israel. And Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is the other piece of this that really scares the crap out of me because, you know, while he is like more, I guess, obvious about how much he hates Jewish people, they're aligned on a lot of ideology, including the economic populism as it applies to the right. And that is really scary stuff.
Let me just say something about all of this and what a con this all is. Like all of this is a massive con. Because what you have is, and again, I keep going to America Fest, which is Turning Point USA's big conference 2 weeks ago, because it was so completely instructive as to what's happening there, right? These guys wrap themselves up in morality. They wrap themselves up and won't anybody think about the children. You've got Erica Kirk talking consistently about how women should stay home with the children and the children and the children, and won't anybody think about the children. And this is so bad for the children. And we can't, you know, all the sexualization on TV that you see, it's so bad for the children. And you know, the children are the children in quotes. These imaginary children are the props.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after she goes and does this, and not one reporter questions her about this, not one goddamn reporter, starting with Barry Weiss, says to her, wait a second, Erica, you had Steve Bannon speak at America Fest.
Yeah.
Steve Bannon, the same Steve Bannon who worked with Jeffrey Epstein on what can only be described as a reputation repair project.
For years.
Which was an attempt to scrub a child sex predator back into elite society using the gentle exfoliant of storytelling. Right? Nothing says, Michelle, protect the children, quite like giving the stage to a man who helped workshop a redemption arc for one of the most notorious abusers in modern memory. So if you want to look for a single snapshot of what's broken in MAGA's performative Christianity, this is it, right? The endless sermons about the children.
Right. Like as Melania says, who gives a F about the children?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know,
nobody cares.
So let's be very clear here. If they wanted the Jesus talk to mean something, Erica Kirk, for example, would have had one bright line rule. Anyone involved in image laundering projects for a child predator doesn't get the stage.
Right.
Because there are plenty of political operatives out there in America who are Republican who have not been publicly tied to rehabilitating a pedophile.
Right. And pedophilia, as far as I remember, is one of the worst crimes known to humanity is to hurt children. And again, the irony here of Marjorie Taylor Greene coming onto the political scene as a follower of QAnon, and QAnon's sole message through line was that there was a cabal, there was a pedophile ring in Washington that apparently all the elites and all the Democrats specifically, were a part of. Now there are some Democrats, Bill Clinton being one of them, and his Treasury Secretary, what's his name? Larry Summers, right, and more, obviously. But then you've got Donald Trump, you've got Steve Bannon, you've got all these people that are a part of this circle. And I think that a lot of these people don't want to face this. And for somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene to rehabilitate her image and the things that she has said and done and contributed to since she came on the scene. And this is where I remind people, she was sworn in 2021. She has never been a congresswoman while Donald Trump has been president until now. She has never had to go toe to toe with him ideologically and publicly while both holding office until now. And it didn't go well. And, on January 6th, she was there. And what was she doing? I say Lauren Boebert, right? I mean, they're not the same person, but like Lauren Boebert tweeting out the whereabouts of Nancy Pelosi, where they were bringing her. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene chased David Hogg, a Parkland shooting survivor, down the street, yelling at him. I mean, this is where I'm just kind of like, I believe that people should be given second chances, I guess, sort of, maybe. But she's had a lot of bad behavior, a lot. And she has contributed to a lot. So it's hard to take this seriously.
Yeah. And I think the part to me that just irritates me is that basically she's like, well, I was fooled. I was also scammed.
Right. I was a victim of propaganda.
No, you weren't. Okay, no, you weren't. You're a grown-ass woman. And if you were a victim of this, then you're an idiot.
Yeah. And to be clear also, the second chances, I did not mean the people involved in this. I mean Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think that, I think people like her maybe should be given a second chance. Maybe. I don't know. But at that level of bad behavior,
remember the Jewish space lasers?
Oh my, this is what I'm saying. Gazpacho police. I mean, come on, people.
You don't get fooled into being a racist. You don't get fooled into being an anti-Semite. So let's just be very clear about that.
Right. And at what, 50 something years old, all of a sudden you see the light. I mean, come on. And this quickly. That's another thing. This quickly. I mean, I have a problem with a lot of Republicans who've kind of seen the light about these things, like somehow Donald Trump was the line. It wasn't all the other crap that was going on with the Tea Party movement or any of that, because he's just a symptom of a larger problem, in my opinion. But, she's one of those that I'm just like, I don't know. But this all is very self-serving. And another thing that she, again, is gaining support for is her America First agenda. This is the America First, MAGA 2.0 is America First. Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Marjorie Taylor Greene all have a very isolationist view of America in the world. And that comes down to also these boat strikes in Venezuela, which have been illegal, both in domestic and international law. And just quickly before we move on to the other stuff, and because this does deserve some more time, And hopefully we can dedicate some time to this. But Julie sent this to me very late last night, and I was looking at it right before I went to bed, is the aftermath of these boat strikes.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow because I think it merits, unless something happens today, which of course it will, but this merits a whole separate discussion. We might even do about this. What is happening is gruesome. Gruesome. There are charred corpses that are
washing up on
shore.
And I just want to show the headline so people can go find this. The headline here from the New York Times, and there's a lot of photographic evidence here as well. It says, grim evidence of Trump's airstrikes washes ashore on the Colombian peninsula. First came the scorched boat, then the mangled bodies, then the packets with traces of marijuana. Now fishermen fear the ocean that feeds them.
Yeah, we can talk more about this and what they're doing, the Colombian fishing industry, and
these poor people, man.
Anyway, and of course we bombed some target in Venezuela yesterday.
Yeah, he said, he's like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. And then like 2 sentences later, he's basically like, yeah, we did it.
Yeah, we're basically at war with Venezuela. That is an illegal war because nothing's been
right.
Anyway, okay. Before we go, we have a couple. Well, you promised yesterday on the show that we're going to end the show with a little national anthem.
It really has nothing to do with anything except for the fact that that Julie asked whatever happened to Fergie the singer. And I think I accidentally called her Sarah Ferguson, who is the ex-wife of Prince Andrew. That's Stacey. I believe her name's Stacey Ferguson.
Fergie. But before we get to that, can we just talk about our favorite whipping boy on the show, Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
Michelle, let me set this up by saying I was about to go to sleep last night.
I'm so sorry about this.
And then Michelle sent me this article. And I got so pissed off that I literally could not sleep because I have family in France. I have spent most of my life going back and forth between here and France, and people are always like, oh, it's very fancy. And I got to say, some people visit family in Florida. I'm blessed and fortunate enough that I happen to have family.
I mean, wherever you got family where you got family.
We got family. Right. Yeah. My family happens to be in Paris. Right. And so I love them. I'm very, very close to them. This will get to why George Clooney sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. I'm very close to them. I would dearly love to get French citizenship for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, in my mind, eventually I will be living in France, but also because I would love to have EU citizenship so that I could live in the EU and not worry about having to go back and forth and so on and so forth. I cannot do that because I was not born in France and my parents were not born in France. And
you're not married to a French
I'm not married to a French man. I'm married to a very wonderful New Jersey man.
You're a citizen of New Jersey.
He could get citizenship in New Jersey, but not in France. And so as a result, like I'm SOL, and it's very hard. It is very, very, very hard. Trust me, I have looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard. Dare I say, unless you want to live there for a long time. Proficiently learn French, which my French is not what it used to be, but I guarantee you it's better than George Clooney's by his own admission. You got to know the French language. You got to know French history. You got to know French culture. These are all the metrics you have to do in order to get French citizenship. Plus, you have to live there full time for at least 5 years and contribute somehow to the Republic of France. I don't know, like the glory of the French Republic. Some bullshit. Anyway, the point, not bullshit, my French people. Please don't think that. I would really love to get citizenship there. So I'm sure it's very meritorious. However, Michelle sends me this yesterday, and then yada yada yada. I haven't gone to sleep yet. So Michelle, why don't you take it from there?
So I'm popping around the headlines, seeing if there's anything I've missed for today, other than like the obvious news that we've already talked about. And this comes up on my feed. George and Amal Clooney and family, they're twins, have become French citizens. Hollywood superstar George Clooney has become French, along with his wife Amal Alamoudine Clooney and their 2 children. An official decree seen by AFP on Monday showed. This is French news, by the way. So they get I love the French culture, your language, even if I'm still bad at it after 400 days of courses, the 64-year-old actor.
He's learning it on Duolingo. That's where he said he's learning it, on Duolingo.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Here, they don't take photos of kids. There aren't any paparazzi hidden in the school gates. the now dual U.S. French citizen has long attachment to Europe, which predates his 2014 marriage to Amal, a British Lebanese human rights lawyer who speaks fluent French. Clooney owns an estate in Italy's picturesque Lake Como, blah, blah, blah. We're the happiest, blah, blah, blah. And I want to just take people back to, we're going to go back in time here a little bit. This was published in October of 2025 in The Hollywood Reporter. This was reported elsewhere. George Clooney said he didn't want to raise his kids in Hollywood because they were never going to get a fair shake at life. George Clooney is trying to tell people, because he's so famous and so rich, his kids were not going to get a fair shake at life, if he stayed in Los Angeles. He said, we're very lucky. You know, we live on a farm in France. A good portion of my life growing up was on a farm. Yes, Rosemary Clooney's nephew. And as a kid, I hated the whole idea of it. But now for them, it's like they're not on their iPads, you know?
Yeah, okay. It's not a farm. It's an estate in Provence.
Yeah,
let's
like
be very
let's be
clear.
real.
If anybody has ever been to the Rosé region of France, it is a little tiny bit northeast. It's basically on the Côte d'Azur. It's a little north of the coast to the east of Marseille.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, beautiful.
Fantastic.
Good for you. Good for you.
I too would love to move to a farm.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care about any of this, probably.
Yep.
I mean, I would be annoyed by it. I was like, well, I guess if you're rich and famous, you can get French citizenship. But the things that have led up to this, and I start with the op-ed that he put and published in the New York Times attacking Joe Biden, that essentially led to the immediate sinking of Joe Biden's candidacy, which however anybody feels about if he shouldn't run, I don't really give a shit, honestly, because I think that this was horseshit. You're George Clooney. Who are you to do something like this? And who told him to do it? Was it Barack Obama? I don't know. But it's just this good old boys club that all these white guys got together and were like, we don't want this. And, you know, we're going to tell you how it is. And he was one of the leaders of this pack. And since then, I have seen no op-ed in the New York Times about Donald Trump or Donald Trump's mental fitness or Donald Trump.
Remember, but he doubled down. He did write an op-ed in the New York Times where he doubled down.
Oh.
Yes, where he doubled down on what he did. It was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it. And all of you can go F yourselves. And then if you remember, he did that interview with Patti LuPone.
Oh, I have it here.
Okay,
I was so people know it was an interview that Patti LuPone, because they were both doing Broadway shows at the time, and Patti LuPone and George Clooney did a one-on-one. This is at the Rainbow Room at 30 Rock, by the way, where they're doing this. And Patti LuPone, you know, hates Trump, and so she's asking him, like, "Are we going to survive this moment?" And George Clooney, who's got weird black hair at the time because he's playing Edward R. Murrow in Good Night and Good Luck on Broadway. He's playing a journalist who's being ostracized and because of the Red Scare in journalism in the 1950s. The irony here is astounding. And on top of that, the tickets to see this show and the people who needed to see this story, people could not afford it. It was so expensive. Oh my God, I cannot stand this guy.
Elon Musk, I mean, isn't he destroying the government? When does he have time to tweet to you?
Well, he's got a lot of time.
Think about it. It's like, what the?
Well, the president of the United States took a nice tweet. So, I mean, you know, at some point you have to have like,
oh God.
I mean, it is funny because he is just a New York beast. And, you know, we've all known him for 30 years and he was just a guy chasing women. But, you know, whatever. It's fine. We're going to get through it. I am.
Do you think so?
I'm an optimist. Oh, yeah.
See, I'm a half.
You're half empty?
I'm a glass half
well,
empty.
Well, let me try to walk you through it in some sense. And again, putting things in perspective. You've been around long enough to remember 1968. Every city in the United States was on fire. We lost Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King. We were losing the greatest speakers we'd ever had. And we set every city in the country on fire. We had the Vietnam War was raging, the Tet Offensive, everything that was going on at that time in our country. President has to basically resign because Walter Cronkite said, you know, that Vietnam's unwinnable. We've been in much worse places, actually. The only thing that is different is the source of information and how much and how many different sources. It's the only thing that's different. But it's not nearly as violent, even though it feels violent. It's not nearly as hopeless as it was at that moment in time. So I will say, and we've done this before, but the McCarthy era was very scary for a lot of people. I will say that we'll get through it. I'm disappointed in law firms. I'm disappointed in colleges.
Yeah.
But I will also say I didn't understand, in my naivete, I didn't understand how deeply tied law firms and colleges were to government funding. Didn't understand it. So now it makes sense. It doesn't make, it's not great profiles in courage, but at least now I know why. But from Jackson to McCarthy to this, the authoritarian, the demagogue, it goes away when they go away, and he will go away. And we will, and they don't have anybody that's as charismatic as him. He's charismatic. There's no taking that away from him. He's a television star. He is. He's charismatic. I mean, I don't agree with him at all on anything, but
I don't agree.
But he was famous from a television show.
Yeah,
so I
guess.
feel like we're going to be fine. We'll all get through it, and we do eventually find our better angels. We have.
Can you turn this off?
Every other time, and I think we will again.
Let me say this. Let me say this. One is, I love the dismissive, oh, he was famous from a television show, as opposed to...
And also, let me walk you through this, Patty LaPone. You think Patty LaPone needs you to walk her through anything, first of all?
Yeah, that's one. Two, oh, yes, he was famous from a television show, as opposed to you, George Clooney. You are in the fucking facts of life. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's how
you're a guest star in the Golden Girls.
Yeah, so that's two. He's lucky he was a guest star in the Golden Girls.
I know, honestly.
But
Jerry Orbach really stole the scene, but keep going.
But the part that pisses me off is, oh, we're going to get through this. But you know what? Meanwhile, while I'm telling you we're going to get through this, I'm going to take my marbles and I'm going to not just move to France, a little bunker in Provence, but I'm going to get French citizenship to inoculate myself from what is going to happen to me and my wife, because I'm deathly worried that my wife is going to get arrested because she served on that the ICC committee that recommended that Netanyahu get prosecuted. And good. I'm so glad that you're able to do this for your family.
Yes, because his kids aren't going to get a fair shot, because his kids definitely aren't going to be rounded up by ICE and dragged to the street and put in concentration camps. Because if people think that this isn't also happening to American citizens, it is. It is happening to American citizens, and they're getting lost up in paperwork and disappeared for weeks and months at a time. Well, George Clooney says we're all going to be okay. Now, mind you, that was filmed back in the spring, so like more has happened since then. But like, come on, we all knew.
But
we all knew what was going on. It was going to happen. They told us what they were going to do. But George Clooney, sitting on his high horse with all his money and all his fame and his black hair dye, telling the rest of us how it is. What a load of horse shit. And so when I saw with that headline last night that he got, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This guy, I have had enough. And I had to watch that Jay Kelly movie this week with my family. And listen, Adam Sandler was great in it, whatever. But I can't even stand to watch him anymore.
You know what?
The damage that he has done.
You know what, Franz? Good luck. Because you're about to elect potentially a little mini Trump called Jordan Bardella. That might happen. Probably not, but it might happen. And when and if that happens, good luck to you, George Clooney, because they run an entire anti-immigrant platform. That is all they care about. Now you're an immigrant, my friend. So good luck. Maybe then you could go to Italy and ask Giorgia Meloni, a fascist, for citizenship there. Interesting that he didn't do it in Italy, because he obviously doesn't want to go where.
And actually, it would be easier for him to do it in Italy.
But he didn't want to do it in Italy because of Giorgia Meloni, because God forbid he goes somewhere. But guess what? France potentially is on the cusp of going in that direction too. And so where's he going to move next? She's got British citizenship, by the way, Amal. Why didn't they move to England? Oh, I don't know. French citizen. I mean, it is so absurd. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for him to go and, do some interview, some op-ed in Paris Match or any of these stupid magazines and talk about how he's going to get himself involved in French politics. And no, you can't elect another Donald Trump here. You can't elect Jordan Bardella.
Yeah, so let me write an op-ed.
But in the meantime, let me write an op-ed.
Yeah,
trashing whoever the normal candidate is going to be running against Bardella because he's not living up to George Clooney's exacting standards.
Right,
George
right.
Clooney, who, God bless, everybody's got a political opinion, but George Clooney, who's never worked on a campaign a day in his life, has never actually done anything other than raise money.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, his dad ran for office, but he was not on the ground.
Yeah.
Like,
Michelle, you have been in the trenches.
So,
I have been in the trenches.
yeah.
Okay. This man has never been in the trenches. He has not been in the trenches since the day that he worked on his little Kentucky farm as Rosemary Clooney's nephew, who I'm sure had nothing to do with him getting a shot in Hollywood.
No. No chance at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. And then once Jordan Bardella, if and when he gets elected, he's going to go sit and do some interview, not in French, because apparently you don't learn French from Duolingo. Shocker. And he's going to do an interview and he's going to say to the French, "Oh, don't worry about it. You'll get through this. You'll get through
Yeah,
this.
you'll get through. Everyone's going to be fine.
Everybody's going to be fine." And then he and Amal are going to take off for whoever,
wherever, Australia or New Zealand or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to keep hopping until they find a government that they can live with for the moment.
The whole thing is just so. It's an example of a larger problem, and that is that rich and powerful people seem to get away with everything, and they do whatever, and they're bulls in China shops, and they break things, and then they walk away, and they don't care. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care what. As long as they get to consolidate and hold on to their power and their money and their influence, they don't care what happens to the rest of us. And that really is the bigger lesson here. The bigger theme is that rich and powerful people are continuing to get away with everything and do whatever the hell they want. And they're just granted permission. Here you go. No problem.
All right, Michelle, on that note, because it's getting a little late, why don't we play our little Fergie Fergs to Stacey Ferguson national anthem that you promised to do yesterday, which again has nothing to do with anything other than...
It has nothing to do with anything, okay? It has nothing to do with anything. So people know. I don't even know what year this was. I don't know. Fergie, the singer Fergie. Now, again, if people are wondering, you're just getting here, why the hell are they talking about this? We went live last night to thank everyone because we have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is like so exciting for us. We're so grateful. We kind of went through, we had a chit chat for like an hour just about random stuff. And Julie asked, whatever happened to Fergie? And I mentioned, I was like, I don't know what happened to her, especially after she sang the national anthem at the NBA All-Star game. And you're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, it's like famous. There's memes, there's GIFs, there's a children's book. There is a children's book, guys. And I'm not even making this up. I want to show you this. Okay. This is on Amazon. You can buy it. The Ferg American National Anthem, A Civic Story. It is high.
I've never heard of this in my life, but now I know what I'm going to get for her birthday.
Okay. The 2018 Basketball All-Star Game is a highly recommended to the reader play the audio of the performance as it's read. Mandatory, actually. This book is in no way affiliated with any particular performer athletic organization. Okay. So with that said, let's watch together, shall we? And just prepare yourself.
To perform the Star-Spangled Banner is an acclaimed singer, songwriter, actress, and 8-time Grammy Award winner from Hacienda Heights, California, Fergie.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly wailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming in the rocket's red glare. The bombs burst For the land of the free. And the home of the
Wait.
Let's play some basketball!
Oh no. Oh no.
Did she then take off her clothes and have sex with that microphone? Like, what?
But let's play some Joe and I always, when we were watching like a game, I was like, let's play some basketball. Like, I won't play the whole thing, but just to give people an idea of what the children's book is, I'm just going to show like a few seconds of it.
You have this book banner, Fergie.
I don't, but I have this.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly waved at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars.
Okay, so you all heard it. I won't make you listen to it again, but like,
Oh
go.
my God, that's
so
awesome.
funny. And like, when I was
Land of the Bree.
when I was looking for this clip, I actually found some like behind the scenes clip of Kelly Clarkson on The Voice going, well.
All right.
God bless.
You guys, this is why we love the morning show, because we can go from being enraged about George Clooney to that was a good palate cleanser.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I was telling people last night. Oh my God, no! Why are you being so mean to us, Michelle? Well, because I love you so much that I want you
the
all
Eartha
to
Kitt.
know
She's
about
doing
this.
Eartha Kitt. You're so right. She's doing Eartha Kitt. That's
Right.
exactly-
What was the? I was like,
the hand. Like a jazz hand. It is Eartha Kitt. It's a Catwoman. Right?
That's my favorite.
Oh, all right. We got to run. Everybody, we will see you back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. We might be back if there's some breaking news earlier than that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to the 10,000.
And we will be back tomorrow on New Year's Eve, right? Yes.
Yes, tomorrow's New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody, we love you. We thank you. We will see you tomorrow, if not sooner. Bye,
Yep.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.